What is capitalism? Capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit.
So he'll be breaking station shortly. I just want you to check with Bravo and see if he can.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
I was saddened by the fate of the Palestinian people. They deserve a far better life. They deserve the chance to achieve their extraordinary potential. Palestinians have been trapped in a cycle of terrorism, poverty, and violence, exploited by those seeking to use them as pawns to advance terrorism and extremism.
So, capitalism. Now, if you struggle to understand or you don't get it completely, it is okay. This simply means that the company and or business that you, the people, work for is controlled by a strong, firm concentration of power in a small group of people.
Meaning who? Who are these people?
Well, my dear viewer, CEOs, private owners. Fuck it. Let's say the elite in general who are incentivized by the capitalist system to aim only for profit, even if that means destroying humanity and the planet in turn. Now, capitalism has long been heralded as the engine of progress and innovation, especially for the American people. But, in my opinion, lies a system riddled with inequality, exploitation, and environmental destruction. Now, the intentions of this video is to argue that capitalism, by its very nature, prioritizes profit over humanity. Hot take, I know. Perpetuating systemic oppression, unjust wars, and economic disparity. So now, I'll try my best to demonstrate how capitalism has failed the masses and why a transition into scientific socialism is not only necessary, but inevitable. Alright, first, I would like to make something very, very clear. It is not just these giant evil conglomerate companies that are the problem. No, that's pretty naive. They are unfortunately helped heavily by our own government. You wouldn't fucking believe these guys. But the term is formally known as government lobbying. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Pretty simple. And honestly, in my opinion, it should be fucking illegal. Like, Elon Musk can give Trump a hand job worth of money and he can put us in a fucking recession. And there's nothing we can do. But to stay on topic, yes, government, I'm pointing the finger at you. Why? Because you have a foot in this dance too. Sending us or even helping unjust wars in the attempt of imperialism, spending trillions of American paid tax dollars to corporate welfare? Now listen, I'm not a super patriotic guy, but the idea that my government pays these wars with the life of my American brother and sister, all while we get economically and politically fucked? Luffy wouldn't go for this. Now, I would like to show a video explaining the principles of capitalism by a person named Kwame Ture, or who also went by Stokely Carmichael, who inspired me to make the video in the first place.
We must understand clearly when we talk about capitalism, who are the capitalists? As if we understand that there are only a few people who own and control the means of production in the society, then we begin to understand that there are a few capitalists. And these capitalists exploit everybody, because everybody works for them. Everybody sells their labor to them. It is by selling your labor to a capitalist that he's really able to exploit you. Instead of going through theories, let me give some direct example. Let's say that I'm a capitalist. And let's say that I sell shirts. I have a shirt factory. Let's say this is my factory. I own it. The machinery. I have a place where I get cotton. Now, I own it. I'm the capitalist. And let's say you are my workers. You are my workers. You don't know me. You never see me. You see my lackeys, you know, maybe my foreman, but you never see me. Now, let's say it costs me 50 cents for cotton for every shirt I make. And let's say it costs me 50 cents for upkeep of my machinery. That's $1. And let's suppose I pay you $1 for every shirt you make. That means it costs me $2 to get a shirt, labor included, your labor. I pay you for making the shirt. Now, when I sell the shirt, being a capitalist, and you must know something about capitalism. Very important. The sole motivating force in a capitalist society is profit. Profit. That is the sole motivating force. Profit. Get money. Get it. Get it as fast as you can. Get it any way you can, but get it. Just get it. Just get it. And even in the African community, it affects us here in this country because Africans, those of us living in America, those of us born in America, we are imbued with the philosophy of capitalism, and sometimes we don't even recognize it. Thus, you find brothers and sisters even selling dope to their brothers and sisters to make money. Again, because we're imbued with the philosophy of get some money. Ain't nothing wrong to kill for money. Hell, your country is napalming for money. You can certainly kill for some money. All right, just get it. Just get it. It's the overall philosophy. When we talk about revolution, we must talk about changing values. We must talk about changing values, and we must understand these values. To the shirt factory. I've not forgotten. I'm just going to tie it in. I'll tie it in for you. I'll tie it in. You will see, you must look under the shirt factory, too. You must look for spiraling economy. That's very important, spiraling economy. I sell the shirt for $5. I sell the shirt for $5. I don't do anything. You're the one who make the shirt. I'm exploiting your labor. You toil, you sweat, I get the fruit. That's right, I get it. But you grow it, you plant it by the sweat of your brow. I get it. I sell the shirt for $5. I am exploiting your labor. I really am exploiting your labor. I mean, even when you want a shirt, hey, you got to come to my store and buy the shirt for $5. Yeah, I really am exploiting you. Now, you're workers, you're in a factory, so you begin to get social consciousness. Yes, you do. Marx talks about this. Because you're working together, you see the socialized process, the laboring process, and you're able to see clearly how you're being exploited. So you get together, and you start talking about, we want more money. You tell my foreman we want more money. So the foreman comes to see me. He says, the workers say they want more money. Later for them. Keep them working, man. So he comes back, no raise. So y'all work, but y'all get a little bit more agitated, because it's scientific. The pressure rises, and as the pressure rises, the consciousness must rise. It's scientific. It can't be stopped. That's why revolution can't be stopped. Then you say, hey, look here. We're going to strike. So the foreman comes back and said, hey, they say they're going to strike. I say, oh, let them strike, man. And sure enough, y'all strike. Yeah, y'all strike on me. Now, when you strike, of course, my machinery stops. I ain't making no money. So after a while, I called my foreman. I said, what do they want? He says, well, they said they want $1.50 more a shirt. They want 50 cents more a shirt. So I said, okay, let them have it. So I'll bring you back. You happy? I pay you $1.50 more. Right, so it now costs me $2.50 to make a shirt. It cost me $2.50 to make a shirt. Before, it cost me $2. I was selling it for $5. But hey, look here. I can't go out there and keep selling it for $5. Hey, how am I going to do that? I'm going to lose profit. And look here. Since the sole motivating force in a capitalist system is profit, ain't no need for me to come and sell it for $5.50. Hey, no. Next time you see that shirt on the market, it's going to cost you $7.50. Right. And that's what's known as the spiraling economy. Because profit is what about? Wages go up into demands of the workers and prices rocket. Wages go up, prices rockets. And it keeps going and going and going until it's got to blow the top. It's scientifically real. That's why Nixon is talking about freezing wages and freezing prices. He's stupid. You got to freeze capitalism, Nixon. Freeze capitalism. That's a problem. That's a problem. Yes, that's a problem. You must understand these concepts, because once you begin to understand them and master them, you will see the inevitability of revolution. Not only the inevitability of revolution, but you will see the inevitability of victory for the struggling masses around the world once you understand the scientific principles of revolution. Once you understand it.
Man, unironically, every time I listen to that, I get like not a sense of chills, but more of a inside fearfulness. Not because I'm scared of the future, but more of how highly relevant the statements that he made are in today. Because the man I showed you passed away, And that interview, or I guess stage presence, was like 20 years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But nevertheless, there are two things that Toriyama mentioned that I would like to emphasize on. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, black, white, green, purple, it doesn't really matter. The first being the scientific inevitability of the working class's agitation to the clear exploitation that we, the American people, undergo. Secondly, being the unconscious siphoning of your base morality and principles that we would normally hold, but capitalism and the lifestyle it brings stops that. But I'll elaborate on that later. If it's not clear to you, we, the American people, are currently being divided and conquered by our own government and corporations. Please understand that this is a battle between up and down, the oppressed versus the oppressors, not a battle with your brother or sister of humanity, not left and right. Think about it. There's not as many evil, greedy, capitalist employers as there are the masses, meaning you and I, the McDonald's worker, Amazon worker, etc. So it makes you think, how the are they in the lead? We are being completely divided and conquered, either by religious differences, political differences, music opinions. Somebody could stab you for liking Drake more than Kendrick, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. The point is that we're losing by a large margin. Can't make this up. 24-0. The elites are rubbing their hands together like flies, happy as shit that me and you hate each other and you don't even know who I am. The magic tricks these evil people are using are honestly vicious. I would like to coin and call them the 6 steps to prophetizing and immobilizing the American people. To start off with the first step, coercion of the masses into a state of submission, surrendering power to the oppressors via media, fear-mongering, and or silencing journalists and revolutionaries. As we all know, corporate-controlled media perpetuates narratives that serve the interests of the elite and elite only. For example, during the Iraq War, major news outlets critically echoed government claims about weapons of mass destruction, but as everybody knows, that was proven false. When it comes to our government murdering revolutionaries who go against the status quo, I feel like historically we have plenty examples. Number 2, the illusion of a two-party system, because yes, they may have separate ideologies whether on religious, economic, or political nuances, but still concede to the prerequisite of a capitalistic system being the best system, still choosing profit over you. And please remember, in the eyes of a Democrat and in the eyes of a Republican, you are nothing more than a middleman to profit, whether it's through exploitation of your labor or sending you to war. If anything, remember that. Number 3, scapegoatism. The act of using media or blatant deceit to deflect from the oppressors and have the oppressed come to a different common enemy. I have 2 examples. First, the media portraying gays as one of the core problems of America by completely misrepresenting what they are advocating for and strawmanning the LGBTQ message, which is typically the Republican favorite. Since that doesn't work, they switch to illegal immigrants causing high crime rates despite statistically being less likely to commit crime. Not to say that they don't. Or they'll say illegal immigrants are a heavy contribution to Americans' economic collapse that need to be deported despite undocumented immigrants contributing billions of dollars to the US economy each year through their hard labor and tax payments, basically propaganda centered at a marginalized group. Number 4, tricking the masses into believing in what they need and want is either utopian, unrealistic, a dream, or impossible to impose. For example, universal healthcare for all American citizens, free quality school lunches for all children, more investment in teachers and learning, increased investment in cancer research, actual living wages for every state.
Because if you come to my country now, you'll find that my brothers and sisters, their shirts are torn, their pants are tattered. Oh, if you look at, we make some sandals in Guinea and they're made of plastic, they break every 2 weeks. We make some matches and sometimes it takes you 5 before you get one lit. Oh, our level of production is very low. We're not worried about that. We understand the problem. That's a result of ruthless European imperialism, particularly French. Yes, so we understand the problem. We're going to get where we're going. That's no problem. But if you come to my country in Guinea, where our level of production is very low, where we don't have enough doctors to take care of our people, where we don't even have enough medicine to give it to our people on a mass basis, where our level of scientific achievement in the field of medicine is very low. If you come to my country in Guinea, if you're the
lowliest peasant in the most remote part of the bush, if you are sick, a doctor must take care of you free of charge. The government pays his salary.
Number 5. Manufacturing consent. Tricking the masses into believing that they are independently thinking, but in reality, they are not.
The difficulty arises from the fact that since we live in a capitalist system which seeks to exploit the people and therefore keep the people confused, the capitalist system makes the people think they're thinking when in fact they are not thinking. See, and it is extremely difficult to convince someone who thinks he's thinking that he's not thinking. But we must do it. It's our responsibility. Let me give you an example of how the American people think they think but don't think. If we took a poll of the American people and asked them what they thought about communism, would you agree with me that at least 90% of the people we ask in America would be against communism? 90%? And if we ask this 90% what is communism, would you agree with me that less than 0.2% can probably give us an intelligent, though not necessarily correct answer? Would you agree with me with this? Now let me ask you a question just between you and I. If you have an enemy, does it behoove you to know the enemy or not to know the enemy? That is to say, for example, if snakes are your enemy, does it behoove you to know at least what they look like or not to know what they look like? You understand the proposition carefully. So we want to prove that they think they're thinking, but they're not thinking. Listen to this. The man or woman who hates communism the most is the man or woman who knows the least about communism. And what is even tragic is that the man or woman who hates communism the most, that is to say, the man or woman who knows the least about communism, is the man or woman who wants to know the least about communism. That is to say, snakes are my enemies. They come to bite me, and I don't even want to know what they look like. It's a stupid system!
It really is a stupid system. Number 6, and one of the more prevalent yet evil tactics is utilizing religion in any capacity to justify violence and imperialism, or using religion to psychologically influence the beholders of said religion into believing whatever is done is just and necessary. In America, it's usually Christianity or Zionism, even though Zionism isn't really a religion, I think. Now, I hope that the 6 steps listed persuade and even enlighten you and the American people in general from the strong illusion of capitalism being our best and only option. Personally, living in an unjust, unethical, and broken political and economic society that lacks benefit to the masses literally defeats the purpose of us even having a government in the first place, if you ask me. And I'm saying, if capitalism is so good, how are we having up-and-coming billionaire to trillionaire men and businesses that are literally worth more than entire states and even some countries' GDPs, all off of the back of American labor, while half of my people are either homeless or living paycheck to paycheck? It's honestly illogical.
Stupid system. We say the capitalist system is a stupid system. It must be. It has to be. It's based on exploitation. Its motivating force is profit. But a backward system, a system that motivates people just to do things for profit. One cannot have individual incentive unless one is given some material stimulation. It's a stupid and backward system. It's a system that has to be destroyed. If one looks at the material makeup of the society, one can see clearly how unjust the system is. Under the system, a few people own and control everything. The rest of the masses of the people own nothing. And they are forced to work for these who own. And the more you work, the poorer you get. Of course, because the essence of it is exploitation. It must be based on exploitation. I said, look at the stupidity. A quick glance at the system will show you how unjust it is. But the American capitalist system will have the people so confused, they're thinking, they don't even look properly at the capitalist system. Do you know that in this country, some people own all the coal that's to be found in the country? Now that's unjust, there's no question about it. In the first place, their labor didn't even put the coal there. You know, so they can't say that it was through hard work. No, it wasn't through hard work, you got it. And your grandmama didn't give it to you because she she didn't bring none with her when she came here. You know what I'm talking about? As a matter of fact, she found it here, you understand? So I don't care who you bought it from, who you didn't buy it from. No one man, no through group of men can own the coal in the country. The coal must belong to the people and be used for the benefit of the people, clearly.
If you disagree with the sentiment that all of the coal in a country should be held by the people, by the masses, by the people who inhabit that land, and you actually think that it should be held by a small group of people and price gouged out of a fucking oblivion, I genuinely declare you an enemy of humanity. It's illogical. It really is. Man, the capitalist system is a stupid, backwards, vicious system, and it must be overthrown for the future of humanity. Now, maybe I haven't convinced you yet. Maybe I'm not even fucking close. That's fine, I love a challenge. So do me a favor. Imagine a movie theater, and imagine a little under a dozen characters. A biblically accurate angel, a rapist, a president, really doesn't matter who. A hockey player, a rapper, a Nazi, a 11-year-old girl, a talking dog, and yourself. You then collectively watch a movie and finish it together completely. Now, imagine the collective is talking about the movie together in the parking lot. You all conclude with different opinions on how good the movie was, and even different interpretations of whatever message the movie had. But one thing was universally understood between the group. The movie has gore. I'm talking limbs flying, people are dying, like Mark is getting his ass beat on camera. There is no erasing that fact. The very existence of the movie is now a universal truth that was witnessed no matter who you are or what power you hold.
We say the capitalist system is a stupid system. It must be. It has to be. It's based on exploitation. Its motivating force is profit. But a backward system. A system that motivates people just to do things for profit. One cannot have individual incentive unless one is given some material stimulation. It's a stupid and backward system.
A couple things here. I think we can all agree that capitalism's motivating force is profit, but not only gaining profit, but maximizing profit. Whether it's through cheap, exploitative labor like slavery, or literally destroying the planet. I feel like once you start putting all your cards in one deck and you truthfully start analyzing capitalism, if it can be exploitive enough to use slavery and dangerous enough to cause wars, it's not outrageous to say it's sly enough to exploit you at work. They can exploit your healthcare, how much it costs. They can deny you, they can accept you. They determine how much something is worth, its value. They can set it low, they can set it high, they can exploit it. They can start a war, they can stop a war, they can continue a war. They can do whatever the fuck they want because we are not stopping them. Because we are under an illusion that the system that we are participating in right now is the best system, the only system. But as you watch the video and you see the evidence that I'm compiling, I hope you start to realize that it is the bad system, the worst system. If you remember what Kwame Ture said,
backward system.
I feel like what he means by being a backward system is that it's bad, but it makes you think it's good. Capitalism is not only a system that rewards a small percentage of people, it also rewards anybody who's willing to take advantage, to be evil, to be greedy, to step on heads. Nevertheless, we exist in a system that is morphing and changing our humanity, our morality, and our lives.
But money isn't changing me, and I feel like it's not changing my humanity either.
You don't say. I'd like to put that to the test. So, as I implied earlier, the psychological effect the capitalist mindset has on people, and even rich people in general, is in no exaggeration catastrophically anti-humanity by almost every measure possible.
Would you like to play a game?
If your answer is yes, then I have a treat just for you. I'm going to give you a string of questions, and please comment them if you want. Other than that, I'm only asking for two things. First, I want you to answer honestly and precisely. Secondly, just enjoy yourself. Now let's start. Question 1. Would you kill for profit? As simple as you have a box with a button in front of you, and every time you click it, you get an instant $100,000, no strings attached. You only have 3 answers: yes, no, or I'm spamming the fuck out of that button. Question 2. Would you accept money from a known evildoer? For example, Mustache Man, Satan himself, or fucking Sukuna. It doesn't really matter who. Why or why not? Question 3. Are you willing to discard all religious values and or personal principles for profit? Yes or no? Question 4. Would you sell out a friend or family for profit? Question 5. If you owned a company and or business, and you could put a fossil fuel power station in a povertized living space for less cost, would you? Yes or no? And finally, question 6. Would you taint yourself for profit? Actually, would you surrender yourself for profit? To consider is one thing, but to answer the affirmative only shows how capitalism has brain-rotted humans into believing that the life or safety of another, or even themselves, is minuscule or a necessary sacrifice for profit. It's honestly terrifying. But what's more terrifying is that the people who are willing to discard their humanity and discard themselves for profit are people in major positions of power, historically and in modern times. The point I'm making for other American people is that these no remorse power holding psychopaths make decisions that affect everyone in and out of the country negatively, and the only reason they get away with committing evil actions against humanity is because we are divided and conquered, and nobody is stepping up, including our very own government. I can't stress it enough. To prioritize a finite physical material, green paper, over human life is simply anti-humanity and pro-economic and political genocide. This ideology that the elite have on capitalism inevitably reflects on us. Like Kwame Ture said, America has killed and napalmed other countries for profit. We engaged, instigated, or started literal wars for profit. Our very own doctors won't help you without profit. We sell drugs and guns to our own brothers and sisters for profit. Fucking disgusting. Capitalism, the system that dominates America, is for fact motivated for the maximization of profit at the expense of human life. If that is not true, why is everyone's life getting worse? This is what it means to live in a capitalist society. You are walking profit, not human. How about this? Most Americans realistically have no control of the hours they work, no control on workspace disadvantages, or the means of productions. You have ever-increasing labor, but decreasing pay. Even if pay is good, everything around you is getting more expensive. Basically, a spiraling economy, which is always going to exist in a capitalist society. While this is happening, your boss just got a new condo and a Maserati, and your boss's boss just bought a fucking jet. I don't mean to sound like a kid, I really don't, but wealth inequality is unfair and fucking stupid, and frankly, I want more. I want more for me, I want more for my family, and every citizen that contributes to literally the strongest country on earth. I'm like losing ways on how to chop it down and make it easier for you to eat. I can't stress it enough how capitalism fucking sucks. The system is so immoral. How about this? 26,000 Americans die a year from not being able to purchase insulin, easily preventable. 17,000 Americans die from homelessness, easily preventable. How about another one? 100,000 yearly deaths from air pollution. Is that not like passive fucking genocide? Because all the factories are disproportionately in poor communities. It's not like they're placing these shits in Beverly Hills. They're placing them in proportionately poor areas where black people live, Mexicans, Hispanics, where colored people live. It's literally a passive genocide. Capitalism's refusal to guarantee basic needs is a form of passive genocide. 500,000 annual deaths aren't accidents, but policy choices. But conservatives will claim to care about human life so much, let's ban abortion, but let's not fix anything killing humans. Let's just make more bread. Unfortunately, you can even tie sides driven by economic hopelessness to capitalism. Sorry. The point I'm making is capitalism is not only fucking the shit out of you at work, but passively killing you and people around you. That is a fact. Argue with a fucking coffin. Now, Americans and people all over the globe, I have to stress, please do not feel guilty or scared for wanting more. A tactic our common enemy use is making us feel like we're asking for too much or we're too greedy. It's pretty fucking wild, right? Coming from their mouths. If you're a fast food worker, to a teacher, to a delivery driver, to a soldier, to a pilot, to a porn star, to a veterinarian, to a doctor, anything that contributes to American society, you are owed and due. We are all collectively being abused by the capitalist system by either struggling to buy medicine, food, or housing, and tons of other problems. But Elon Musk just made $200 billion since the Trump inauguration. Speaking of Trump, I have a question. What do the Biden administration a theoretical Kamala Harris administration and a Trump administration all have in common. It would be being completely complicit to the genocide and attempted erasure of the Palestinian people through imperialism and help with American-funded tax-paid weaponry. Another thing the group has in common is the prerequisite that America's capitalism is a good system that just needs to be reformed or changed a bit. No, capitalism by its very nature is wrong, trash, and it needs to be triumphed and replaced with socialism. Simple.
It will be solved. There's a difference between revolution and reform. It's a big difference. In reform, a man observing a foundation, observing a system, sees many problems. But he assumes that there's nothing wrong with the system. The foundation of the system for him is a good system. Thus, what he seeks to do is to change the building as best he can, but he wants to leave the foundation intact. Example, if I came to this building, it's Ackerman Hall, is it not? If I came to Ackerman Hall and I looked at the foundation was falling. It was just falling, couldn't possibly stand. If I were a reformist, I'd say, okay, put a piece of board over that. So we cover the foundation. We haven't touched it. Then I'll come here and say, put a window there, put a door here, put a frame here, put 2 rooms where there used to be 1. What I'm doing is reforming the system. I am trying to make it look different, but I'm keeping the same rotten foundation. You must understand that because this country is full of reformists, black people notwithstanding. And these reformists have a tendency to deceive you, to let you believe that things are really being changed, when in fact the foundation has not been touched, and the longer it stays, the more rotten it becomes. The more rotten it becomes. A revolutionary comes into the building, observes Ackerman Hall, and says, looks at the foundation and said, hey, this foundation is filthy, it's rotten, it's corrupt, it must be torn up. A new one must be put in its place. Once he makes that decision, and once that theoretical decision which he's made is demonstrated actively in his day-to-day life, you have a revolutionary. Thus, a revolutionary is not someone who seeks to reform a system, he's someone who seeks to replace it. I'm a revolutionary. I'm not a reformist. I want the American system destroyed. It must be destroyed and has to be replaced. Has to be replaced. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Again, I'm not calling for revolution. I see it coming, and I want to be part of the solution. I don't want to be part of the problem. I've been the victim too long, so I want to be part of the solution. I am saying that all of us must opt for revolution. All of us must opt for revolution. Now, revolution is very scientific. There's nothing emotional about it. There's nothing emotional about it. President Sekou Touré, a wise and courageous African revolutionary, says that in revolution there is no sentimentality. There is none. Whether I like something or do not like something, it is scientifically determined for me, thus I must do it. So I have no sentiments involved in my work. I just have to do what I have to do, and I will do it the best way I can. Best way I can. Now, revolution, we said, follows scientific laws. If you come and you look at the foundation and you see the foundation is rotten, and you say that you want to replace this foundation, you want a new system, you're asking for revolution. Because what you're saying is that you want another system where there is a system. And we know scientifically that no 2 things can occupy the same place at the same time. I mean, that's logic. So if you say that you're against capitalism and you want another system put in the place of capitalism, then all you're saying is that you want revolution, because capitalism and this other thing cannot occupy America at the same time. Only one will occupy it. Only one will be dominant. Thus, if you say you want revolution, you understand you're talking about scientific principles. 2 systems cannot occupy the same space at the same time. I'm opposed to capitalism. I seek an economic system which must follow the principles of scientific socialism. This system must come, will come, all over the world, America notwithstanding. It must come and will come.
Listen, guys. Listen. When I play Kwame Ture, listen to that man. Our oppressors are playing in our faces because they know how good they've been separating America by either using race, religion, sex, or profit to strip away our humanity to become as soulless as them, but we never reap the benefits of selling our soul. And I'd say we never sold our souls in the first place. Capitalism is fucking ridiculous. The average American is living paycheck to paycheck, while 4 people are getting closer to becoming trillionaires. It's stupid, it's illogical. And please keep in mind, this is all happening while we struggle to pay for basic necessities and health insurance. America is spending our money on weapons for more bloodshed in factories to take more labor from us for more of their profit. I mentally cannot comprehend why we, the American people, and people around the globe are allowing this, but no more.
The capitalist system is a vicious system. The viciousness of the system is to be found in the fact that those who labor do not enjoy the fruits.
But now that I think about it, I kind of want to talk about the bloodshed a little more. So allow me to elaborate on the war aspect of capitalism and how disgustingly anti-humanity it is. What I'd like to call the sins of capitalism. The sins of capitalism can be defined as evil actions committed in pursuit of profit, or even just the possibility of it. So, knowing that, our kawaii desu US government, driven by capitalist imperialism, has repeatedly made catastrophic decisions in its quest to maintain global dominance. One example, take the Vietnam War. Just 10 years after the fall of Mustache Man in 1945, America's paranoia over communism reached a fever pitch. Terrified of the Soviet Union's rising influence and so-called domino effect in Southeast Asia, the US launched an unjust imperialist crusade against the Vietnamese people, not for freedom, but to force them into submission under capitalist hegemony. The result, a brutal, unwinnable war that left 3.8 million dead, countless lives shattered, and a humiliated superpower limping home in defeat.
Because the system is based on exploitation, it confuses the people so that it uses the people for its further exploitation. Thus, the pigs who run the capitalist system come and yell, "The communists are coming!" The people grab the guns. Where? Panama. They go shoot. The communists are coming. Where? Santo Domingo. They grab guns. They go shoot. The communists are coming. Where? Vietnam. They grab guns. They go shoot. They don't know what the hell they're fighting and are not even concerned with finding out. That's a stupid system. Stupid system.
Even today, you have veterans confessing to the atrocities they committed during this war. With one soldier who killed 3 already badly injured Viet Minh saying, "The action committed by a veteran who was a rifle leader in the US troops stationed near Dong Ting in Vietnam's southern region was ordered by his troops to kill 3 Vietnamese soldiers who were already badly injured, without determining if their wounds were fatal." Recalling the actions, he acknowledged that the order was improper. In the letter he wrote, "Regardless of my state of mind and the circumstances, that order was improper. I offer no excuse or mitigating the circumstances. There were none. What I did was completely contrary to my upbringing, my religious belief, and my training as an army officer." He went on to then say, "I apologize for my actions that morning. I regret them more than I can ever express. Because of my rash decisions, families and friends irrevocably lost any possibility of a normal and happy life with 3 men. I continue to pay for my actions since that morning. I realize that I have no way of asking for forgiveness from actual relatives of the 3 men. I hope by this apology to the people of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam that I may receive forgiveness and find some measure of peace within myself." The reason why I'm going so in depth and bringing an actual background to the soldiers is because I want to make it apparent that we're not only just sending soldiers, but we're sending human beings to murder other human beings. These are boys who grown into men, and some of them were actually still boys, 16, 17, 18, 19, when they were sent to war off of policy changes. So, the Vietnam War was not an anomaly, it was a blueprint. For every soldier who woke up too late to the atrocities they committed, there are 1,000 more still trapped in the machine, still pulling triggers for wars they don't understand. And let me be clear, I'm not saying we shouldn't have a government. I'm not going rogue here. I'm just saying, as America claims to be the beacon of justice in the world, let's do that. I apologize for my ignorance on the topic before, but now let us expose the most glaring crime of our era, the US-backed Zionist scorched earth campaign against the Palestinian people. A 21st century imperial genocide funded by American tax dollars, justified by the same capitalist hunger for control that ravaged Vietnam. The weapons are smarter, the propaganda are slicker, but the playbook is identical. And honestly, I want to take more time to dismantle the Zionist ideology and Zionism in general. So I promise you, I'm going to make one video just for you guys. I promise you. Just sit back and watch for this one though. But as I was saying, the Zionist playbook is very, very, very identical. Dehumanize the oppressed, invoke self-defense while invading, bomb hospitals, schools, and refugee camps, and call resistance terrorism. From the jungles of Southeast Asia into the rubble of Gaza, one truth remains. Empire does not retire, it reinvents, and so must we. That shit was hard, I know. So let's dive right into it. The 4 pillars of understanding Israel's genocide in Palestine, firstly being not all Jews are Zionists. That's crazy, right? Being Jewish does not equal supporting Israel's crimes. For centuries, Jews faced persecution. Zionism is a political project, not a religious identity. Today, anti-Zionist Jews, like Jewish Voice for Peace, led protests against the genocide. Why does this matter? Because Zionists weaponize anti-Semitism to silence critics, but Judaism actually rejects ethnic cleansing and killing and stealing land. You know, 6th and 8th, right? Number 2, Zionism's illegitimate foundation. Now, let's dismantle Zionism's so-called legitimacy piece by piece. Their entire claim rests on 2 flimsy-ass, small-ass pillars. First, a colonial-era pinky promise from 1917, meaning the Balfour Declaration, where the British Empire, who didn't even own the land, gave away what wasn't theirs to give. Second, ancient religious text that somehow erases 1,400 years of continuous Palestinian existence on that literal soil. Now, let's expose the breathtaking hypocrisy here. If some old book, some dirty old ass book, and distant ancestry gives you rights to a land, then by that logic, Native Americans own every inch of the stolen land called America. If we're honoring broken 19th century promises, then the US government better start cutting checks for 40 acres and a mule. Yeah, Kendrick. Can't stress it enough. The Zionist foundation isn't just weak, it's actually criminal, it's contradictory, and it collapsed under the weight of its own absurd logic the moment you hold it up to the light.
Well, King Balfour and the British Empire won and took the land, so isn't it theirs to give?
That's might makes right rhetoric. It's like if I take something from you and I own it. By that reasoning, Hitler owned France when Nazis occupied it, and Belgium owned the Congo while they chopped off hands. It's not very consistent, and I hope we don't start using barbaric rhetoric like that. And actually, even the 1919 King Crane Commission sent by the US and its allies concluded no British officer consulted believed the Balfour Declaration had any legal force. But 100 years later, we're still using it as an argument? It's honestly ridiculous.
Thus, in order for Mr. Herzl to get a country for Zionists, what he did was to attach himself to imperialism, British imperialism in this case, quite specifically. Of course, as an African who suffered under the heels of British imperialism, I can have no love for it, and certainly I cannot love anyone who attaches themselves to it and attaches themselves to it for the foundation of a state and then call this a liberation movement. Liberation movements fight against imperialism, not with it. Clearly here. Yes. The legal foundation of the State of Israel is what is known as the Balfour Declaration. This declaration was issued in 1917. A man in the government of Britain named Balfour wrote a paper and promised the Jews a national home. The national home he promised them was an area which Britain was colonizing, Palestine. Palestine didn't belong to the British, just like Ireland doesn't belong to the British, even though they have troops there. But here, these British imperialists signed a note and gave it to the Jews and they accepted it. Where is the morality for this? If you say that Israel belongs to you, then you don't go to a thief to get Israel, you go and take it. Once you go to an immoral being such as British imperialism, and this is the basis for you getting the land, then clearly here those who are truly liberation fighters must question this. The basis, we say, is the Balfour Declaration, and Zionists know it. The Zionism is certainly not a liberation movement because it never fought against any imperialism. As a matter of fact, today, Zionism is the baby, child, and infant protector of imperialism in the Middle East.
Now that we dismantled the King Balfour's declaration and that entire segment of the Zionist argument, we can switch to the religious text and the mythological real estate that they like to pull. So the God said so argument is obviously not a legal or a moral standard. I don't know if you guys ever watched Fate, the anime, but if ancient texts could justify land claims, then that's what the world would become. Saudi Arabia could annex Mecca from Muslims worldwide. Italy could evict Catholics from the Vatican because Peter was given the keys. We don't abide by books and mythological real estate. I'm being like, please stop. That's like such a terrible argument. I can't believe that my government is actually taking it serious. What's like honestly kind of confusing is the Zionist movement picks and chooses when they want to abide by the Torah, because they'll use it to justify taking the land by using religious scriptures, but they don't actually abide by the amendments. The Torah is clearly against ethnic cleansing, and I'm reading that Theodor Herzl himself says the Jewish state is a world necessity, not a religious dream. So he's not even respecting the religion. I really don't understand how the Zionists are in this position of power when they've been so openly anti-humanity their entire existence. I don't get it. I really just, I don't know. Palestinians are considered terrorists while Zionists in Israel literally bomb schools and hospitals, and their excuse is, they're hiding among. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? What? Alright, sorry for the rant, but number 3 is as simple as Palestine belongs to the Palestinians. You know, Israel and Zionists have no right to that land at all. Just, you know, none. Like, 0. Number 4, Zionism is a crime against humanity. And due to you guys not being religious, it's not anti-Semitic to criticize you, right? In my opinion, I think that Zionism is... Soldiers of America, I have a question for you. Do you truly value justice? If you answer yes, then you must agree what's happening to Palestinian people is not war, it is a genocide. A slaughter funded by your taxes, armed by your government, and justified by the same imperial lies used to ravage Vietnam, Iraq, and every other nation we destroyed for profit. Let me be clear. We are accomplices. Not because we pulled the triggers, but because we let it happen. We funded it. We voted for the politicians who signed the checks. We swallowed the propaganda that called murdered children collateral damage. So I ask you this. Who here voted to send $13 billion to Israel in 2023, $53 billion in arms sales since 1950 to slaughter Palestinians, and over $250 billion total to enforce this illegal occupation? And who is allowing Trump, Biden, or Congress to act like they own Palestine, to sign more arms deals, to greenlight the ethnic cleansing of families who literally lived there for centuries? Again, let me be clear. This isn't foreign policy. This is blood money. And I'm not even that religious, but I'm not going to hell because y'all want to pay for some bullshit. So that's why I'm putting this video out so y'all can stop wilding. But seriously, until we stop paying for these crimes, the blood is on our hands too. In America, if you hire a hitman, you go to prison for conspiracy to murder. So why is it legal? Matter of fact, why is it normal for our government to sign billion-dollar checks to Israel, knowing that money buys bombs to slaughter Palestinian families? How about this? We wouldn't accept the CEO paying a killer to strangle a child with his bare hands. But when Lockheed Martin takes our tax dollars, morphs them hoes into missiles, and drops them on Gaza, we call it foreign policy. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? I don't know. It's kind of confusing. Like, you wouldn't hand Nicholas Cruz a knife or a gun to go kill somebody. So why would you let Biden or Trump hand a bomb to Netanyahu? It's not like we're like randomly seeing the guy on the street. We voted for this. We literally all participated and voted for it. What the fuck? I personally see it as a murder for hire scheme, and every taxpayer is a unwilling accomplice, whether you like it or not. Y'all crazy, bro. Y'all let them spend $1 million to kill kids, but not healthcare? What the fuck?
Difference between mobilization and organization, because the enemy will use mobilization to demobilize us. Mobilization is very easy. very, very easy. Because since we're people who are instinctively ready to respond against acts of injustice, anytime there's one little act of injustice, we can blow it up and we'll find people who come and make some mass demonstration around it. Miss Sally lost her job. Let's rally. She'll get her job back. People will come and rally. So-and-so got kicked out of school because the teacher's unjust. The people will come and rally. They will come to rally at issues. And this is what mobilization does. It mobilizes people around issues. Those of us who are revolutionary are not concerned with issues. We're concerned with the system. The difference must be properly understood. The difference must be properly understood. Mobilization usually leads for reform action, not to revolutionary action. If we would look scientifically at the October 16th million and more march, we would see clearly that this was a mobilized event, not an organized event. We must know clearly the difference between mobilization and organization. One of the characteristics of mobilization is that it is temporary. Organization is permanent and eternal. Clear differences must be made because the unconscious can usually be captured easily around one-issue items, around mobilization items, but it's hard to catch them around organization. But these unconscious must be brought to organization. We must transform mobilization to organization. We say the enemy.
So as you heard from Mr. Toei, we must educate collectively. We must all become aware of the problems, not just, some of us. We must mobilize, organize, but we can never surrender. But separate from Mr. Toei, I have my own hypothetical on how we can dismantle, replace, and destroy the system that we're currently living in. I would like to call it the wound. How to kill capitalism from the inside. Capitalism is an interesting system. It's similar to a parasite. It survives only if we feed it with our labor, our obedience, and our silence. But like any other wound, if it's left unattended, it rots. Now, capitalism needs certain conditions and criteria to be met for the system to succeed or even exist in the first place. This might be a weird comparison, but Crollo from Hunter x Hunter needs certain criteria and conditions for him to steal another person's nin ability, called Skill Hunter. If those conditions are not met, then he cannot take the ability. Similar to capitalism, if these conditions are not met, the American people being obedient, going to work every day. If those conditions are not met, the system collapses. Now, to begin with the conditions, the first one, and I feel like personally the most obvious one, being the flow of goods and labor must never stop. Capitalism needs two things to live: your work, meaning exploited labor, and your consumption, meaning exploited wages. How do we kill it and how do we end it? In my opinion, I think general strikes refusing to work, boycotts refusing to buy, and sabotaging the machine are the most efficient ways. Now, when sabotaging the machine, I mean by slowing production, malfunction on purpose, disrupt logistics. So your manager might suplex you, but you're gonna have to take one for the team. Second, capitalism demands endless profit growth, an insatiable hunger that devours lives and ecosystems alike. Literally, it's like a fucking Leviathan. The moment that growth stalls, the system panics. So we force the crisis. We unionize and demand wages so high, they erase quarterly profits. And then we start pirating shit. Literally, we start looking for free alternatives and then we invest in the community collectively. This is an integral part of squeezing the system and making sure they do not gain profit. Number 3, the masses must remain divided and compliant. Capitalism's greatest weapon is our disorganization. Its greatest fear, collective action. We have to organize horizontally, as in no leaders, just networks. I can't stress it enough. The moment the American people ditch the fear, ditch the racism, ditch the hatred, and ditch the bigotry, we will flourish. The wound is not a theory, it's a tactic. Now, self-admittedly, this isn't the most efficient, best, or most damaging course of action to break the system. I'm 19, that's fucking impossible. This is what just makes sense in my head right now.
I have to ask, what would America be with a different system? Actually, what system are we even fighting for?
Now, according to Google, or I guess Wikipedia technically, there are 28 types of economic systems. But I disagree. There are only two types of economic systems: scientific socialism and capitalism. Either a system where the people hold the means of trade productions and wealth of a country, or a small group hold it. Think about it like My Hero. Capitalism is all for one, meaning everything in the country is for one group. Not literally, but figuratively. And scientific socialism is one for all, the good guy. Please choose the right one. Now, inevitably, there's going to be people who attempt to trample on this discovery using your logic and associate scientific socialism with just Marxism or just communism. No, that is strawmanning. They are alike but very different. Previous attempts at quote-unquote socialism, such as the Soviet Union, were marred by authoritarianism, corruption, and totalitarianism. However, these failures do not negate the potential of a true democratic, equitable system. Arguments that the system would fail because of authoritarianism or corruption is stupid. No single system would fail because of one person. Like Quamtere said,
if a system fell because of betrayal, Christianity would have been finished with Judas. At least Judas had the dignity to hang himself. Socialism is an economic system, and there can only be two in the world, capitalism or socialism, because every economic system must answer one fundamental question: who will own and control the wealth of the country? Who will own and control the means of production? The question can only be answered two ways. Either a few will own, or everyone will own. It's as simple as that.
This is why he's the GOAT. Nah, but seriously, he answers it so simply. There is only two economic systems: scientific socialism or capitalism. There's no other way around it. As one of the masses, I have to say, the system where me, my people, and everybody around owns something instead of a small group of people who harbor everything, that sounds way more beneficial. Now, unlike capitalism, scientific socialism's definition is kind of harder to find than capitalism, like on an Oxford Wikipedia or something like that. So I'm about to give you my own personal definition that I have required from Quamtere and Marxist shit and all the other stuff. Now, scientific socialism is the systematic transfer of political and economic power from the capitalist class to the proletariat, achieved through revolutionary class struggle. It abolishes private ownership of production, replacing it with democratic worker control, and dismantles the bourgeois state to create a transitional system where the oppressed majority, not profit, dictates all federal, economic, and social policy. It sounds pretty fucking dope. I'd rather this happen than Elon Musk make another trillion. I would kill myself by then.
Now, I know socialism. I know, they will confuse you. I know, I understand. Yes. So, is it possible? They will confuse you. You know what they will do? Look how tricky they are. I will tell you that socialism is the best economic system on the earth. I'll tell you that socialism is an economic system where there is no exploitation of one by the other. I will tell you that under socialism, the people own and control the means of production. Therefore, materially, once the people own and control the means of production, the profit motive is taken out of the system. Therefore, the only motive one can have now is service to humanity. I can also tell you that under socialism, you have a planned system. I can tell you that under socialism, you will get justice. Tomorrow, you can go to your professor. You can say, last night, we heard Kwame Ture. And Kwame Ture told us that socialism is the best system in the world. He told us that under socialism, there is no injustice. He told us that under socialism, there's no exploitation of man by man. He told us that under socialism, life would be better and everybody will be able to give their full creative potentials to humanity. Do you know what your professor will say? He or she, sounding very intelligent, will say, what Mr. Ture said is correct. That is to say that socialism will give you all of these things, but it's rather utopian. Now, when your professor tells you that socialism is utopian, you think your professor is talking about socialism. Not at all. Your professor is talking about the nature of man and woman. Your professor is talking about what he or she believes to be the nature of man or woman. And what he or she believes to be the nature of man and woman is that man can never live on the earth in justice. So what your professor is telling you, don't fight. Stop. You can't get there anyhow. Capitalism is the best of all possible evils. Let's live with it and do the best we can. It's a backward system.
Marx argued that all of history is a history of class struggle. And he was right. Whether it is slavery, feudalism, or capitalism, the pattern never changed. The peasant, the enslaved, or the worker are always the one robbed of the fruit of their labor. Historically, today, or even in scripture, this hierarchy and common trope of the peasant, slave, or worker being taken advantage of by the employer, master, or lord has never changed. You can say history is repeating itself. That's one thing all of humanity has in common. Uncle Sam. America's tax daddy. We all know his face, the hollow eyes of an empire, the starved ribs of capitalism, poking right through his flag-striped suit. In media and historic description, he's meant to be the personification of America and the government. A skeletal white man pointed at you, demanding more blood, more sweat, and more war. I cannot stress this enough. Capitalism has way too much blood on it, and it cannot continue unless America has no care for what is inhumane and humane, what is justice and what's injustice, and especially and most importantly, what's good for the people, what's good for you, your son, your daughter. If America has their own soldiers walking in front of the Israeli-US embassy and lighting themselves on fire to no longer be complicit in a genocide, I do not know what's more telling. Capitalism is wrong. If millions will queue for concert tickets, or stand billionaires on Twitter, or almost flip a fucking government because somebody lied to you, or binge Netflix for hours, then we can redirect that energy towards dismantling capitalism and building a world that serves the many and not the few. Seriously, scientific socialism is not a theory nor a fantasy. It is the next logical step for a species tired of wage slavery, climate collapse, and endless war. The question isn't if we can do it, the question is how fast can we wake up and start. Now that we reached the conclusion of the video, I would like to say thank you. All power to Kwame Ture and every revolutionary who bled for the liberation, not for this empire, but for its destruction. All solidarity with the global victims of US capitalism, the children bombed for oil, the families bankrupted by hospitals, the workers starving under bills, while billionaires launch Katy fucking Perry into space. These are not tragedies, these are crimes. And the criminals have names. The politicians who legalize price gouging insulin, the CEOs who poison black neighborhoods for profit, the war profiteers who sell bombs to Israel while Americans and veterans sleep in tents. This isn't my usual type of video. I'm going right back to schedule, but to my politicians who fucking suck.
There's no way out of this one. You're done.
There can be no other greater motivating force than to fight for the liberation of the people. Obviously, an intelligent man, a conscious man, even a stupid man must know that until one is free, one cannot appreciate life. Clearly.